Going backstage, I'm in the battle.
You can't go backstage.
Man, come on, dog. I got a stamp on my hand, man.
Go right. Now I see Eminem with, like, he had like, it was crazy. He had like, I don't know if it was a ninja mask or something, but he had the gun. He kicked the door in and starts shooting inside. He looks at me and he just walks back to his room.
He just lights the cigar and it's about Suge. He light the cigar and he trying to see what you gonna do. So Eminem, 50, everybody outside. This is when I knew Eminem was real. It's like, I don't give a man. This is when I knew, I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real 50 outside.
Eminem showed a different side of himself when he starred in 8 Mile as the gifted battle rapper B-Rabbit.
This beat is still gonna sink. You're a disgrace. Yeah, they call me Rabbit.
And even though the film is said to be inspired by his real life, the truth is, the actual Eminem was way more wild than what we saw on screen. Eminem made his big screen debut in 8 Mile, and the movie was a smash. He even took home an Academy Award for Best Original Song with Lose Yourself, making history as the first rapper to ever win that award.
His palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy, there's vomit on his sweater already.
But while the movie version of him, B-Rabbit, came across like this quiet, hungry rapper who just wanted to make it out of the struggle with a mic in his hand and no real drama, the real Slim Shady was way more chaotic. Truth is, Eminem's real life was messier, louder, and way more controversial than what played out on screen. Let's rewind a bit. Just a year before the movie dropped, 2001 was a straight-up wild ride for M. He was going through a nasty divorce with Kim, fighting off serious legal charges and nearly landed in prison. And funny enough, one of his early real-life run-ins with the law actually inspired a scene in 8 Mile, back when he was about 20. M got arrested for firing a paintball gun out of a car window at a police cruiser, except it wasn't even him who pulled the trigger, it was his friend. And the paintball didn't even break on impact. Still, he got arrested, but since the so-called victim never showed up in court, the case got thrown out. That was just the beginning though. As his fame exploded, so did his problems. M was slapped with 2 gun-related charges in 2000, right when he was becoming one of the biggest artists in the world. The first incident went down outside a car stereo store in Royal Oak, Michigan. Apparently, Eminem had dissed the group Insane Clown Posse on his Marshall Mathers LP, and their road manager, a guy named Dale, didn't take it too well. Words were exchanged, and M, in a fit of rage, pulled up with a gun tucked into his waistband. It ended up sliding down his pants leg and hitting the ground. He picked it up and kept arguing, even though he never actually aimed it at Dale. Still, the charges were serious, carrying a concealed weapon and brandishing a firearm. One of those carried a potential 5-year prison sentence. But that wasn't even the wildest part. Just hours after that situation, M found himself in another mess outside the Hot Rocks Cafe. This time it was personal. He spotted John Guerra, allegedly kissing his then-wife Kim, and completely lost it. M reportedly pulled out a gun, pistol-whipped the guy, and threatened to kill him. Lucky for everyone involved, the gun wasn't loaded. Still, this could have ended really badly. But M cut a deal. He pleaded guilty to lesser charges, avoided jail time, and got 2 years probation. He also settled the lawsuit with Guerra out of court, reportedly paying the man $100,000, not including legal fees.
And the objectives of the court of the law be satisfied by following the probation.
It's wild to think this was all happening while the Marshall Mathers LP was up for multiple Grammy Awards. He had 4 nominations that year and won 3, all while staring down serious prison time. If things had gone just a little differently, his whole career could have been over before 8 Mile even came out, but somehow he skated through it all barely. And if you thought that was the end of his chaos, no, his love life was just as crazy. In 8 Mile, B-Rabbit has a complicated thing going on with Alex, the girl he meets at work. She cheats on him, they argue. It's messy.
I hear you're a real dope rapper.
The dope rapper?
Yeah.
Who told you I was a dope rapper?
But even that doesn't hold a candle to Eminem's real-life relationship with Kim. Eminem fell in love only once and for life with Kim Scott. Their romance started way back when Eminem was just starting out. The couple quickly became tabloid fodder, notorious for their explosive relationship, which only seemed to worsen after they tied the knot and welcomed their daughter. Their household became infamous for loud and constant arguments that even the neighbors couldn't ignore. Things escalated to the point where their family drama got them kicked out of their home. Despite their rocky relationship, Eminem's way of expressing his feelings was unique, to say the least. He channeled his emotions into his music, but not in the way you might expect. Instead of a sweet love song, he penned a harsh track where he vented his anger and frustration. even going as far as to include threats toward Kim, her new boyfriend, and their child in his lyrics. A twisted way of showing his love, or perhaps his profound struggle with it.
I hate you. I swear to God, I hate you. Oh my God, I love you.
The rapper talked about writing the song, and here's what he says. I should have finished it back in '98 when I put out my first album. I wrote the song when Kim and I weren't together. We broke up at that time. It was the end of '98. I remember watching a movie once that inspired me to write a love song, but I didn't want to do a basic love song. It had to be some kind of perverted-ish. Although I don't remember what kind of movie it was, I do remember how upset I was about our divorce. I really wanted to pour my heart out, but still, I wanted to scream. I did the vocals in one take, and I conveyed the mood that I had during our fight. Their saga continued, and they somehow ended up back together. However, the reconciliation was short-lived. At one of his concerts, Eminem performed the controversial song with an inflatable doll representing Kim, which the audience received with enthusiasm. Kim, who was at the concert, was understandably horrified and distraught by the spectacle. It was too much for her, and in a moment of despair, she attempted but fortunately survived.
Up in smoke who rolled into M's hometown of Detroit. Kim Mathers attended the show. Later that evening, months of anger and tension came to a head. She went home and slit her wrist.
Then there's the other dark chapter, Eminem's battle with drug addiction. According to his former bodyguard, Big Nas, Eminem started off as a healthy guy, someone who wasn't into any hard substances. But as fame hit and the stress of the industry piled on, what started as a joke, a little bit of drug use here and there, quickly spiraled recreational to a full-blown habit.
I think he started taking some of the recreational drugs as a joke. Because it wasn't something that he had to, do. Because he was such a health nut.
Nas recalled that Eminem's drug use took a turn for the worse in Baltimore, where his assistant manager was constantly pushing drugs on him.
At what point did the drugs start getting heavy?
Baltimore, assistant manager at that time, who would constantly push drugs. Push drugs as in to say, hey man, look, take this will give you energy. Hey man, take this will do this will give you up.
Looking back, Nas deeply regretted not stepping in sooner because from that point on, things only got worse. At one point, Nas claimed that Eminem took 14 different drugs in a single day, a dangerously high amount for anyone, let alone someone whose body wasn't built for it.
At one point, you said he did 14 drugs in one day.
Yeah.
Eminem's addiction really escalated while he was recording his second album. According to Nas, Eminem was having serious trouble sleeping, and a lot of the drugs he was taking at the time were sleeping pills, ecstasy, and other substances. Things got so bad that Nas and the team had to literally watch Eminem sleep because they were terrified he might go into cardiac arrest or never wake up.
I remember him having trouble sleeping. So a lot of it was sleeping pills, so he can go to sleep because he had problems sleeping. And then there was some ecstasy. I literally would sit there and watch him sleep. I would have to sit there and watch him sleep to make sure he didn't go into cardiac arrest or he stopped breathing.
Now, if you didn't already know, one of the main reasons Eminem fell into this dark hole was the loss of his best friend, Proof. Proof wasn't just a rapper from Detroit. He was Eminem's right-hand man, the person who always had his back, no matter what. Eminem and Proof grew up together on the same block in Detroit, and if you've ever seen 8 Mile, you might remember Future, the character played by Mekhi Phifer. He was actually based on Proof. Proof was the one who pushed Eminem to take rap seriously, convincing him to hit up the hip-hop shop and test his skills at open mic battles. Without Proof, there's a very real chance that Eminem wouldn't be who he is today.
So then Proof said, what up, M? Yo. So I said, Proof, won't you come in?
Yeah. Come in, what time for that? Tango and Cash, Kane and Mango and Blast, together.
Despite being an underground legend, Proof never really chased mainstream fame. He stayed true to his roots, focusing on building up the Detroit rap scene. But even before he made a name for himself, Proof had a strange, unfortunate brush with fame, years before anyone really knew him. He appeared in the background of Aaliyah's Age Ain't Nothing But a Number music video, standing next to Bizarre from D12. Speaking of D12, Proof was the mastermind behind the group. Around 1996, he had a vision of putting together a rap crew made up of 12 of Detroit's best MCs. The idea was to have a dirty dozen, But finding 12 truly talented rappers in one city wasn't easy. That's when someone came up with a brilliant workaround. Instead of 12 different people, they would have 6 MCs, but each one would have a second alter ego, effectively making them a dozen. This is actually where Eminem's Slim Shady persona came from. Every member of D12 had their own split personality. Proof became Dirty Harry, Eminem became Slim Shady, Bizarre became Peter S. Bizarre, Kunava became Rondell Bean, Swifty became Swifty McVeigh, and Mr. Porter became Con Artis. D12 made their debut in 1997, dropping an underground EP, and from there, the momentum started building. Individual members of the group started getting recognition. Bizarre was named Inner City Entertainment's Flavor of the Week. Proof won the Source's Freestyle Battle, and Eminem had just released his Slim Shady EP, which eventually caught the attention of Dr. Dre and changed his life forever. But just as things were taking off, tragedy struck. Before D12 became what the world knows today, there was another member, Bugs. Bugs was introduced to the group by his friend Swifty, and he was a key part of D12's early days. But on May 21, 1999, Bugs was involved in an altercation in Detroit that turned deadly. He was shot multiple times and then run over by a car, killing him on the spot. Bugs' death shook the entire crew to its core. The vibe around D12 shifted. Things weren't the same anymore. At the time, Eminem wasn't even officially part of the group. He was more like an honorary member. But after Bugs passed, Eminem stepped back in temporarily to help out with some group obligations. What started as a temporary return eventually led to him fully rejoining D12. The group had a pact. If one of them made it big, they would come back and help the others. And that's exactly what Eminem did. After the Slim Shady LP went triple platinum, Eminem was one of the biggest names in hip-hop. Instead of leaving his crew behind, he established Shady Records under Interscope, specifically to sign D12 and put them on the map. With Eminem's career skyrocketing, Proof joined him as his hype man on the legendary Up in Smoke tour, a tour that was basically the weed-smoking Olympics, featuring Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, and a lineup of some of the biggest rap names at the time.
Of course they're gonna know when in the course is by the time they get fourth grade, they got the Discovery Channel, don't they?
In a sad twist of fate, Proof was depicted in Eminem's music video for Like Toy Soldiers as being shot and killed, a scene intended to represent Bugs' murder. Eminem later expressed feeling guilty for this portrayal, wondering if it brought bad karma. Despite the foreshadowing, Proof and Eminem remained tight until the end, with Proof even stepping up as Eminem's best man at his short-lived second marriage to Kim.
Proof often shared the stage with Eminem. He was even the best man at M's wedding this past January.
And let's not forget all the drama M has stirred up over the years, especially when it came to beef. And one of the most jaw-dropping was when he found himself at odds with Suge Knight of all people. It all goes back to Dr. Dre leaving Death Row Records, when Dre signed Eminem and later brought 50 Cent into the fold. Suge already had bad blood with Dre, so when Eminem and 50 started making serious waves in the industry, they basically inherited Dre's beef with Suge. And Suge being Suge, he wasn't about to let it slide. He tried messing with them on multiple occasions. Take, for example, the time when 50 Cent was filming the music video for Inda Club. Out of nowhere, someone yelled, "Suge Knight is here." That single sentence threw the entire set into chaos. Suge showed up with about 30 men, reportedly members of a Mexican gang.
This is why I always respected Eminem, 50, and that was with us. So Suge came, he had some Mexican. We from New York. You ain't never seen a nigga with a tattoo on his forehead. He just lights the cigar, and it's about Suge. He light the cigar, and he trying to see what you gonna do. So Eminem, 50, everybody outside.
It was a classic Suge move, rolling up with a squad, trying to intimidate everyone on the scene. This was how Suge operated, always ready to pull up unannounced, flex his influence, and remind everyone that he was still a force to be reckoned with. Amidst this tension, Eminem was also present at the video shoot. True to form, Eminem did not back down.
This is when I knew Eminem was real. He's like, I don't give a man. This is when I knew, I'm like, damn, Eminem is a real 50 outside, what's up?
Then there's the story from the 2001 Source Awards, which could have gone south real fast. Eminem was there performing with his group, D12. And like any major award show, the vibe was already tense. Normally, artists could have their bodyguards nearby at these events, but for some reason, the rules that night required bodyguards to sit separately from the artists. That left M in a vulnerable spot, which Suge and his crew didn't hesitate to exploit.
The way they had it set up, the bodyguards could not sit with their artists. You had to stand off to the side.
According to Eminem's former bodyguard, Big Naz, things got sketchy fast. M ended up surrounded by a group of intimidating guys wearing red shirts, a clear signal they were affiliated with the Bloods, the gang Suge Knight was known to have ties to. Big Naz quickly realized something was off and sprinted across the venue to get to Eminem. He said it was obvious these guys had been sent by Suge.
And M was cut off on his way to his seat, and all these guys in red shirts surrounded him. And I'm looking at M's face, and I'm looking at these guys. I'm like, you see all these guys talking about death row, motherfucker, death row. Death row, motherfucker, death row. So by this time, I cut in, I step in front of M, I push the guys back. I'm like, yo, what the going on here, man? I was like, death row, what's it got to do with him? He said, hey, man, Suge sent him a message.
Things between Suge Knight and Eminem escalated to a whole new level during a crazy incident in Hawaii. According to Eminem's former bodyguard, Big Naz, there was some serious intel that Suge had plans to harm Eminem during an event that was supposed to be nothing more than a casual getaway. But this wasn't just some vague low-key threat. Apparently, Suge sent more than 50 of his guys all the way from Los Angeles to Hawaii. Their goal was to disrupt what should have been a relaxed gathering with Eminem, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre. What was supposed to be a peaceful vacation turned into anything but. The entire vibe flipped the moment they touched down. Instead of sunbathing and sipping cocktails, the group found themselves on high alert, bracing for a possible confrontation. Everyone involved, Eminem, Snoop, Dre, and their wives, had to gear up like they were heading into battle. Bulletproof vests became part of their daily wardrobe, and firearms were kept close by, just in case. The situation was so tense that even the Honolulu Police Department had to get involved, assigning officers to shadow Eminem and the rest of the crew for protection. Big Naz later opened up about just how surreal the experience was. "We thought it was going to be a vacation," he said, "but it turned into a huge problem. We had our wives with us. Some people even brought their kids. The second we got off the plane, it was chaos. Honolulu police had to escort us, and we were rushed to a transport van with everyone, kids, wives, and all."
We ended up getting escorted by Honolulu police, man.
And then there was his beef with Benzino. Their beef kicked off over a scathing review in the Source magazine, which Benzino co-owned. See, when Eminem dropped The Eminem Show in 2002, the Source gave it a 4 mic rating out of 5. For most artists, that's a solid review. But for M, he thought it was straight up disrespect. He was convinced that he'd never get a 5 mic rating because of his race. And to make things worse, he blamed the Source and its co-founder, Benzino.
This battle between me and Eminem is really a situation where the hood just ain't selling units no more.
M wasn't quiet about it either. Aside from trashing the Source in interviews, he also refused to acknowledge Benzino when it came time to promote his new film, 8 Mile. One time while performing in Puerto Rico, Benzino showed up backstage for an interview, but Eminem gave him a hard pass. Benzino later talked about the snub in an interview, but he didn't just leave it at that. He followed up by dissing Eminem in a freestyle.
I swear on my daughter's life, I never met this dude. I never met this man, this girl. She is obsessed with me.
Then, later in 2002, Benzino took things to another level. He released a diss track called Pull Your Skirt Up, where he came straight at Eminem's neck. Benzino kept the pressure on with another diss track, I Don't Wanna.
I don't care how much record you sold, you can't walk through the hood without the men in black.
At that point, Eminem was done playing nice. He responded with a vengeance. He hit back with a series of brutal diss tracks like Invasion, The Sauce, and the legendary Nail in the Coffin. He clowned Benzino's rapping skills, made fun of his age, exposed his fake gangster persona, and even mocked his business practices.
I would never claim to be no Ray Benzino, an 83-year-old.
Benzino wasn't about to let that slide. He fired back with Die Another Day and even a parody of Lose Yourself called Better Lose Yourself. But that's where things got real dark. Benzino crossed the line when he threatened the lives of Eminem and his daughter Haley.
him out. Tell Haley it ain't safe no more. Daddy better watch your back at the candy store.
The hip-hop community turned against him. Radio stations stopped playing his music, fans ripped him apart, and Benzino's career started crumbling. But instead of backing down, he doubled down. Since his music was getting ignored, he started using The Source as his personal weapon. He ran smear campaigns against Eminem, trying to destroy his reputation through articles and negative press.
Benzino here on the video shoot or die another day. Electro recording artist. Co-owner Source Magazine, Eminem Slayer.
Eminem responded with another diss track, Go to Sleep, and this time Ja Rule caught strays too. And just to rub salt in the wound, Eminem landed the cover story for XXL magazine, which just so happened to be The Source's biggest competitor. That sparked a whole feud between the two publications. Benzino kept swinging with more diss tracks like Fallin' Down, taking shots at both Eminem and 50 Cent.
50 Cent is falling down, falling down.
And since Ja Rule was already beefing with 50, Benzino figured, why not join forces? So he and Ja teamed up for even more diss tracks, including Untouchable. But by 2003, Benzino thought he had his trump card. He got his hands on an old Eminem track called Foolish Pride, where M had used racial slurs. Benzino wasted no time. He leaked the song on The Source's website and even printed the lyrics in the magazine. He probably thought he had M cornered. But when Eminem immediately addressed it, took responsibility, and apologized, the fans forgave him. And by that point, the hip-hop world had already crowned Eminem the winner. Years later, Benzino would apologize. But over time, instead of things cooling off, M kept throwing jabs at him. Even recently, he took shots at both Benzino and his daughter, Coi Leray.
You hate to spoil a day, but this doesn't bring me no joy to say. Guess that Coi Leray feeds in the toilet, eh? God, yeah.
And the pressure finally got to Benzino. He went on Drink Champs crying about how this beef has been haunting him for over 22 years. He even admitted that it affected his relationship with his daughter. Benzino said she probably felt pressured to side with Eminem, since the whole world was against her dad.
I got nothing against Eminem, Eminem can rap, but I care about us more. I don't want to go through, I don't want to talk about it no more. I don't want. For 22 years, every time I do an interview, they ask me about Eminem. My daughter came into the industry figuring that, hey, I gotta be cool with Eminem because everybody's against my dad. You think this cool? Nah, man.
And of course, there's Ja Rule, who many believe saw his career take a major hit because of Eminem. Their beef really stemmed from Ja's long-running feud with 50 Cent. So when Eminem signed 50 to Shady Records, Ja wasn't having it. He felt betrayed and decided to take shots at Eminem too. And that's when things really started getting ugly. Ja Rule made the biggest mistake he possibly could. He brought Eminem's daughter into it.
Your mother's a crackhead and Kim is a known. So what's Haley gonna be when she grows up?
And if you know anything about Eminem, you know that's the one line you don't cross. In response, M dropped Haley's Revenge, where he straight up put Ja Rule on blast, and even included a conversation with his daughter in the song. But that wasn't enough. Eminem and 50 teamed up for another brutal diss track aimed at Ja Rule. This time it was Hail Mary, and they weren't just dissing Ja Rule, they were taunting him. They clowned him for trying to be like Tupac, basically telling him he'd never live up to Pac's legacy. By 2004, Eminem had officially called the beef over in his song Like Toy Soldiers, saying he was tired of the drama.
Beside him, that job said I tried to squash it. It was too late to stop it.
But just because M moved on didn't mean he was done with Ja Rule completely. Fast forward to 2018, and M couldn't resist taking one last jab. On his album Kamikaze, he threw another dig at Ja Rule, just to remind everyone that he still had that disrespectful streak in him. And Ja, well, his career never fully recovered.